So this E3, during Microsoft's great conference advertising the PlayStation 4, we got to see an action-packed new trailer for Dark Souls. And it was action-packed, it was fast-paced and suited for E3, so let's go over it in a little more detail. So the first thing I was really intrigued by was this, and it's actually one of the things that made me want to make this video. The character kneels and extinguishes the bonfire? It definitely looks like it. A rush of cold air and ice comes down. Now we know you can light bonfires, so I assume extinguishing them is an option after you light it, like kindling or warping, something done within the bonfire menu. But why? Why would you want to extinguish a bonfire? They're pretty damn important to the gameplay, and Dark Souls with less bonfires means Dark Souls with a lot more travelling. And bonfires are pretty important to the lore as well. Remember, in Dark Souls, the first flame is fading, and so is Gwyn's Age of Fire, but humanity, the black little sprite within every human, can feed the flames. The way I understand it, Lord Gwyn built the bonfires throughout his land, and linked them to the first flame. Every bonfire has a firekeeper who tends to those flames. When you offer humanity and kindle the flames, the firekeeper stokes the bonfire with your humanity, and fire grows stronger. So Gwyn had a system to keep the Age of Fire going. He used the fragments of the Dark Soul to feed his flame. As the undead suffered through his lands and used his bonfires to retain their humanity, Gwyn benefits, the Age of Fire benefits, and the undead struggle on. So why is it now an objective to put them out? Maybe the bonfires are linked to the curse of the undead. Maybe the curse arose when Gwyn linked humanity to a flame. Maybe it's as Karth says, that Gwyn's followers are shepherding the cursed humans to sacrifice their humanity for the flame, while Karth would rather have the fragments of the Dark Soul united in his hands. Wait, hands? God damn it. At any rate, I feel like the undead curse is going to be a major plot point. In one of the first interviews with Edge magazine, Shibuya said that the game will revolve around a cursed character. Now that's nothing new, but he also mentioned that they will be trying to find a cure for their curse. He wouldn't be drawn out further, but think about it, if anything is going to be the focus of the game at this point, I think it's the curse. Also, imagine going through the game with the bonfires lit, then having to go through with them extinguished. It might make for an interesting gameplay mechanic. Perhaps it's optional to extinguish them and you get some other benefit. I could go on for ages, but I'll move on. So, onto something you wouldn't have noticed unless you're me. Enemies seem to react dynamically or differently to the way they're hit with a weapon, depending on its type or its stroke. Maybe it's just me, but this looks like some pretty insane attention to detail. And speaking of reacting dynamically, it looks like the player character reacts pretty appropriately as well. Another example is this scene. When the character runs through this hallway, the enemy spear glances off his sword, even though no attack was necessarily executed. Did that seriously just happen? If that's the level of detail in this game, then that's pretty impressive. Alright, let's go into a boss fight that was shown in the trailer and actually available in the demo that people played, the Mirror Knight. The first thing I thought of was the Old Monk boss from Demon's Souls. If you're unfamiliar, the Old Monk was the first and only Souls boss that had a PvP aspect. In that fight, the player puts on the Old Monk headpiece and fights the player who challenges the boss. If you're in offline mode, you fight an NPC. And guess what? Mirror Knight has a confirmed PvP mechanic. In this fight, the Mirror Knight slams down his shield, leaving himself open to attack, but a player attempts to break out of the mirror. If you let him succeed, it looks like you're up against another player, as well as the boss itself. If you let him do it again, it looks like you're playing two players and the boss. Oh, and some people thought Dark Souls 2 was going to be easy? I don't think so. Prepare to die is still a valid tagline. Speaking of taglines, Go Beyond Death was one of the taglines that people voted on Facebook. Out of the options they gave us, I think this one suits the game best. Interestingly, they didn't actually listen to the poll, since Transcend Death and Sacrifice Everything were way out in front. If it were up to me, I wouldn't listen to Facebook fans either. That's it. Soon I'll release a video titled Everything We Learnt About Dark Souls 2 at E3, so stay tuned for that. I'll put an annotation here when I make it. Also, before you go, the music in the video is an adaptation of the trailer song made by Hellkite Drake. He remade the song from scratch, replicating every note by ear and putting it together 2 hours after the trailer was released. He's a talented guy. Find the original song and subscribe to his channel by clicking the annotation on the screen. Later guys, subscribe if you haven't already and like if you learned something new.